This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. Shayanfekr is joining us right now. He's the CEO of Sharestates. What's up, brother? Pleasure having the show.
Not much. Thank you for having me.
So what's your company do? Yeah, I know you guys are in real estate.
Yeah, so we're a real estate marketplace, lending and investing platform, basically like a real estate stock market. So we find different real estate investors, speculators, and developers, underwrite their projects, bring them to our platform where individual investors, family offices, and institutions have an opportunity to invest in those deals.
How long have you been in real estate?
So I'm actually a young guy. I'm 28. Real estate is probably been about 2 years now since we fully launched the company. My background's originally on the legal end.
Okay. How'd you go from legal to real estate?
So it's funny, we were sitting over a family dinner. I was finishing up my last year of law school, and my brother-in-law and his brother were talking with me about certain businesses and kind of some different business ideas we had. And I was trying to figure out whether I was going to go into business for myself, go work for a law firm, start my own law firm, whatever it was going to be. And this concept was something that my partners had a while back, but the real estate market wasn't really ready for it back then. So they gave me the idea. I came back a couple of weeks later with a business model and a business plan, and they started me up with funding, and we got rocking and rolling.
Cool. So you didn't know you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? That wasn't in the plan?
No, I always wanted to. I knew that I always wanted to do something with real estate, but my family and I grew up on the other side of the tracks, so we didn't really have the finances that you needed to get started in the real estate industry, so I needed to find another way there. For me, the answer was going to law school, kind of figuring out how the legal end of things worked and trying to make some money along the way, and then eventually putting that into my own
Did you just snowball into debt or something by going to law school, or what? 'Cause that's like the standard.
Yeah,
like the average college graduate in 2016 graduates with $37,000 in debt and takes 21 years on average to pay it off. And that's normal school. That's not law school.
Yeah, so it was crazy. I actually got almost a full ride to my undergrad for NYU, and then I got like 80% of my tuition covered for law school. So I came out with pretty minimal debt compared to some of the other guys I went to school with.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
No,
if you don't get, how did you get that though? By the way, how did you get the?
Working hard, a lot of studying.
Good
did
grades,
well on my exams. Did well in school. Okay. Yeah, was working multiple jobs throughout school, so I didn't really have the extracurriculars. But I guess the guys that were reviewing the application, maybe they felt bad that I was working 2 jobs throughout school, 3 jobs sometimes.
Yeah. Well, hey, whatever it was, it worked, right?
Yeah, it worked.
What are you excited about for the future of your business?
Just super excited to scale it. So our full launch was in February of 2015. So it's been just under 2 years that we've been in full swing operations. Since then, we've managed to grow to about 40 people on staff, including our technology team. We've obtained over $1 billion in capital commitments from different investors, both on the institutional side and the individual investor side. And we are probably, I think, the fastest growing company in our vertical right now in our space. We just broke about $230 million in originations, and I think we're well on our way to do $1 billion next year. So
nice. What does $1 billion mean? Is it $1 billion in revenue through the company? $1
billion worth of originations at roughly anywhere from a 4 to 6% margin. So $1 billion will generate somewhere between $40 to $60 million in revenue.
Awesome. Yeah, it's quick growth. You only been in business for how long?
We've been in business for just under 2 years since our full launch.
So what do you think has been the key to making the type of success that you're talking about right now and projecting moving forward? What's been the key to that success? Or will be the key to that success?
It's been a combination of a couple of things. A lot of patience and long work hours. The 9 to 5 doesn't really exist.
There's a lot of people out there who've been in business for 20 years and don't do that kind of income. So it's not the patience. They would disagree, right?
Yeah,
they would disagree because you're only 28. They're like, I'm 58. Patience.
Yeah, no, it's 15, 16-hour work days. It's a lot of it honestly had to do with my partners. I'm the CEO of the company and ran a lot of the operations early on, but we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. So my partners, Raymond and Rodney Devuti, came from a real estate background. They've been in the title insurance industry for a while. They had a book of business and a network that was basically built to support what we're doing today.
How'd you come across those guys?
So Rodney actually married my sister. My sister was really good friends with Ray when they were in high school.
You're like, I got to go into business with this guy. Marry into the family.
Exactly. So, and they've always been really good to our family. We became really close with each other, family vacations, everything, and we hit it off.
Nothing better than that, though, right?
No.
You're either gonna hate the guy your sister marries, or you're gonna go into business with them.
I love them honestly. For me, they're brothers at this point, and they're no different than what a real brother would be.
That's awesome. How is it like working with those guys? Like sometimes there's conflict when you work with family or friends. People say don't go into business with them.
Yeah.
But then again, I've had so many people come on the show and they're like, well, the best thing ever. Like, you have conflict no matter what. There's nothing better than having.
We've done a really good job at separating the two. So we actually, when we're outside the office, we don't bring business into it. So if we're at a family dinner or on a family vacation or whatever it is, our business is our business, and we keep that between ourselves. We try not to speak about it in front of our family, or really just kind of bring it up where it's not warranted.
Okay. So it's just kind of figuring out how to balance the two.
Yeah, it's
And you
totally
get
a
better
balance.
as you go.
Yeah,
Hopefully you get
it's
better.
totally
Right?
a balance. Believe me, we've bumped heads. Everybody's going to bump heads from
You're
time
gonna
to
bump
time.
heads no
But
matter what.
I think the fact that we're family actually has made us a stronger unit, because we always find a way to work around it.
Family always does find a way to work around it,
Yeah.
right? We've got the CEO of Sharestates, Shayanfekr, joining us right now. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. I'm curious, on your journey so far, have you had a mentor that's helped you a lot? I mean, sometimes we have people come in here and they're like, I did it all by myself. And then we have people come on and they're like, if it wasn't for my mentors, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Which one are you?
So definitely had mentors. Coming out of law school, my partners will say that I was really cocky, and I had a very know-it-all personality.
Yeah, you come out of the
yeah.
law school.
So I definitely had that quote-unquote chip on my shoulder, but I learned a ton from my partners, Ray and Rodney. Everything from, they both have very completely different personalities. So Rodney is more of our grounded compliance guy, operations, etc. Ray is all about relationships, building relationships, and kind of teaching me how to not be a robot sometimes. So, it's hard when you come out of law school. You're very rigid. You do things a certain way, you write emails a certain way, but when you're building a business and business development, it's all about relationships and being able to entertain people and really make them feel comfortable with the product.
Do you consider yourself a recovering attorney?
I do.
Recovering lawyer?
I'm a recovering attorney, recovering lawyer, definitely.
Okay. What do you feel like are some of the lessons? And I'm sure there's a lot, because I mean, when you're an attorney, you learn a lot of the things that protect you in business that most entrepreneurs don't know.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's probably pros and cons. You probably got some things you're trying to unlearn and habits you're trying to break.
Yeah.
What do you feel like's been one of the best lessons that you have learned from law school that's carried into entrepreneurship?
I think one of the best things I've learned, I'd have to say probably that no single deal, or the risk associated to any single deal, is worth the potential downfall of your company. So it doesn't matter how lucrative a deal is or how much money it could potentially make you guys. Don't straddle the gray line. Just make sure you're always doing things the right way. You're putting the right processes in place, the right compliance, the right procedures.
Yeah.
The last thing you want, especially in our industry, because we are selling security, we're dealing with the SEC. There's a lot of regulation, and whether it's state or federal bodies that oversee us. You don't want to get that phone call or that knock on the door.
Yeah. What about some of the basic stuff, like for the beginning entrepreneur out there, from your experience? Are there things where beginning entrepreneurs kind of try to cut corners and they shouldn't, from your lawyer background?
I think sometimes entrepreneurs might cut corners, but they're not doing it intentionally. It's more about knowledge. So I came at this a different way, which was from the legal end, and I was going into a pretty heavily regulated industry. So, for me, it was all about making sure the paperwork was done the right way. For other people, it's more about business development and making sure that they're delivering the right type of product. So, that's why people have attorneys, right? And their attorneys come to the table, and their job is not to make a business decision for you. It's just to kind of tell you what the potential risk and reward is for doing something a certain way, and then you have to, as the entrepreneur, decide, how much of their legal advice you're going to listen to.
Are you the one that does all the attorney stuff for your business and contracts?
Yeah. So in the beginning, I did. Over the last year or so, though, we've outsourced it. Obviously.
As you grow,
we've grown, so we've brought on different attorneys.
That's not your highest income and impact activities as a CEO.
No, exactly.
What are you attributing your success to in regards to your ability to find and retain the right talent? I feel like so many people come into the show and they're like, my biggest problem, or our biggest key to success, one or the other, is the team.
Yeah.
We can't retain great millennial talent, which is a big problem. We get the millennials in and then they leave.
Yeah.
Or on the other side, it's like we figured out the secret sauce to building the right team.
So company culture is extremely important.
Especially if you're growing as fast as you guys are.
Yeah, so we kind of have two things that interplay there, right? We run a very family-based environment, so it doesn't matter. We have millennials come in, and one of our head marketing people, who we love, she's a great asset to our team. She started with us just about a year ago now. Came to us one day and said, "Hey, somebody in my family is looking for a job. I'm the only income stream right now. Would you guys consider bringing somebody in?" And we said, without a doubt, bring them in immediately. Interview was probably the quickest interview we ever had, because nothing else mattered to us. For us, it was just kind of taking care of our own.
Yeah.
So that's one. And number two, it's just making it a fun work environment. So whether it's hosting pool parties or doing a happy hour, or just kind of have everybody meet together on a Friday at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and just cut the work week out short an hour, and just grab a beer and hang out. And let everybody connect, or doing Secret Santa, just fun things that we can figure out to like help people connect and make sure that it's a fun environment and everybody's enjoying themselves.
I love that, bro. We'll be right back with Alan to talk more about his company and peel back the layers of what makes it successful. I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. Connecting a community of entrepreneurs is what we do, so you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com. This is Business Rockstars. I'm Mark Lack, and we're here to inspire, inform, and connect a community of entrepreneurs. Alan Shayanfekr is in the house right now. He's the CEO of Sharestates. Recap for us what your company does.
So we're a marketplace lending platform focused on debt and equity investments, bringing together individual investors and institutions with developers and speculators looking for financing on their projects.
Something I think is super cool about you guys is, unlike other companies out there, you guys bootstrapped. A lot of people nowadays are kind of following the trend, either because they truly do need it and it's the right thing to do, or because they just don't know better and they think the right thing to do is raise money. You guys did the opposite. You guys bootstrapped it.
Yeah, so I think everybody kind of falls into that trap, right? They think it's the thing to do is to go out and raise VC money or private equity money of some kind, and you end up in this situation where you're burning a ton more cash than you're actually making, and then you kind of
you don't even think about it as your own money, so you're like, bah.
Exactly. No,
House money.
You get sucked into a hole where you're constantly diluting yourselves. You're going out, you're doing a Series A, a Series B, a Series C. You wake up one day and you realize, hey, if I don't do the next round of financing, we're going to go bankrupt, right? So it's a very much like a tech play. Everybody is just trying to raise money, spend money, raise money, spend money. We took a different approach to it. We decided to actually bootstrap the company. So we started the company with what was originally a $25,000 loan. That grew into about a $250,000 loan before we turned a profit in August of 2015. We were able to repay that, and then we've just been reinvesting everything that we've made. So just through, I think, the end of October of this year, we've grossed about $12 million in revenue, and we're just reinvesting that into the growth of the company.
Awesome. Like some of the examples you gave, somebody in your organization's family member needed a job, and you guys just hired them, which is what I love, that you guys go out of your way. You said like it wasn't even a question, fastest hire ever, which I think is so cool because that's a reflection of the amazing company culture that you're creating for the people that want to come into it. What about, we were talking about deal flow. How do you guys consistently find quality deals? I feel like that's basically hinging the success of your business, is the quality of deal flow that you guys can continue to get done.
Really, one of our biggest assets is our ability to source deal flow. In this industry and kind of the broader concept of what we do, just even outside the real estate industry, but in consumer debt, student debt, business loans, et cetera, investors will eventually come to whatever platform has deal flow because they're looking for a product. They have to deploy that capital. So it's just a question of how much can they deploy, how quickly can they deploy it. For us, deal flow has always been an advantage over some of our competitors and peers in the industry because our backgrounds are in real estate. So many of the other companies we speak to on a regular basis or see in the industry on a regular basis are coming from finance and technology backgrounds, whereas we've come from a real estate background. So my two partners actually got started in the real estate industry about 15 years ago as principal developers, speculators themselves, doing all types of projects from your typical like 1 to 4 family residential fix and flips, which there's a ton of TV shows about, or some small ground-up condo construction or multifamily buy and holds, that sort of stuff. And having gone through that process a number of times, they actually realized that there was a pretty lucrative business model in something called title insurance, which is kind of boring, but kind of a necessary evil in our world. And they actually started their own title insurance company back in 2005, and over the last decade, they've grown that into a national company operating in all 50 states, directly licensed in 34 states. And they grew their company a very specific way. So it was all about providing auxiliary services to their clients. So sometimes they'd have a client who sold an asset and had some capital to place. another client was looking for financing and they would connect these guys without monetizing it, or they would help them negotiate a complex transaction, or they would host a networking event, whatever they could do as a value-add service, really. And because of the way they grew their business, about 50 to 60% of their client base ended up being speculator and developer business, which are the very types of guys that need our type of financing that we provide through Sharestates today. So we came into this with a book of business and a know-how for how the real estate industry works and how those relationships work and how to basically just originate deal flow.
What I think is mind-blowing is that most people think of real estate as buying a home or fixing and flipping, but there's so many different ways to make money.
Yeah.
Like with real estate, it's mind-blowing. I have a lot of successful people in the real estate space that I know, and there's so many little ways through contracts and this and to make money on it. It's insane. Your business capitalizes on one of those little unique niches.
No, it's nuts.
Space.
It's you can lend, you can do equity investments, you can get contracts and flip contracts for a profit without ever having to close on a property. There's so many different things you could do.
Yeah, I love that. If you had to start over and you couldn't do real estate, which I know is tough to even imagine, and you had to go into a completely different space, what excites you most right now as an entrepreneur? What would you want to get into?
If I had to go in a completely different space.
Tech space? What do you want to do?
No, it's actually completely different. So prior to going to law school and
the lingerie
and all
industry
this, not that sexy. No. I actually have been I've been in the restaurant industry for about 8 years. So from when I was 16 to 24, started as a busboy, worked my way up to a food runner, bartender, waiter, managed restaurant. Wow. I think if anything, I'd probably want to be in the restaurant industry.
So it's still a little bit of real estate in there. You got to own a brick and mortar store, but why real estate? It's like one of the worst businesses to ever be in. For most people.
Restaurant, you know what, I think it all comes back to relationships and kind of that family environment that we like to build. And I've always dreamt
about owning one because it feels like it'd be the coolest thing ever to just roll up, bring clients or family or friends in.
And that's the thing. It's like I've always loved that family feeling. So being able to roll into a restaurant and have, everybody give you that warm, fuzzy feeling when you walk in. I mean, those are the successful restaurants, right? We go out to dinner with clients all the time. And the places that we love going to are the ones where the second you walk in, all of the staff just kind of like runs over to you and they shake your hand. They're like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And like you feel warm and fuzzy. You feel special. Yeah. So I like being able to share that feeling with people. So if I could actually be creating it, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I love that. So if we were going to shift gears and we were going to talk about a position that you were in and I was in at one point, and that is going from not being an entrepreneur to being an entrepreneur, your advice for the people out there who are about to cut the cord and get started, or maybe they're in their first, second, or third year, what do you feel like are 3 things they all need to know?
I think number 1, I mentioned earlier what I learned from my partners is don't be cocky. Make sure you obviously know what you're talking about, but always be humble and approach the people that you're speaking to with respect. And just be open to their advice. So if you're speaking to somebody and you're pitching them on your concept, you're pitching them on your concept and it's your baby. But if they have some sort of constructive criticism, don't get offended by it. Just take it in, absorb it, and if you need to change your business model to make it make more sense, don't be afraid to do that. And I think number 2, seriously, you got to be patient because a lot of people will give up quickly on their babies. They'll start a project and a year will go by, 2 years will go by, 3 years might go by, and they don't get the traction they need, and all of a sudden, the business takes off. And it's happened with companies all the time. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. They haven't been able to figure out the secret sauce for how to make money and how to make the company work, and then they wake up one day and it's working. And I think the third most important thing, advice-wise, is just put in the hours. It's being an entrepreneur is all about how many hours you're willing to put in. And one of my favorite quotes that I actually stuck with me from, I think it was while I was in law school, I read this somewhere. It's probably on Facebook or something. The quote was something along the lines of, being an entrepreneur means living your life the way other people won't in order to one day be able to live your life the way other people can't. So you've got to put in those 16-hour work weeks. You got to make the sacrifices. You got to be willing to eat ramen noodles, every night of the week for...
Somebody just said that earlier.
Yeah, you have to do it.
Somebody wants to follow you or learn more about you or your company, where can they do that?
They could go to our website at sharestates.com. It's sharestates.com. Or they could follow us on Twitter One of our business development guys is a Stogie Monster. You can find him online. It's a long story. And he does a ton of our community development, so he can help answer any questions.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I'm Mark Lack. This is Business Rockstars. Connecting a community of entrepreneurs is what we do. So you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at businessrockstars.com.